But first with us is Frank Lavin, Chairman and CEO of Export Now. So Frank, you set up a company called Export Now.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this company does?
Sure. What we do is we provide e-commerce services in China for the foreign companies so that any foreign company can now post and sell on Tmall in China as easily as they can post in their home market. And this means about 6 different things. It means inbound logistics. We bring it in from the United States or wherever. We do customs clearance and label and compliance issues. We do warehouse operations and fulfillment. We do the whole web design. We'll typically start by taking the home market web page, the typeface, the photos, the videos. We'll put it up on Tmall for them, translate it, adapt it for the Chinese market. We'll do digital marketing, outreach, social media for them, last mile delivery, collect renminbi, and then remit back US dollars to the US company. So a US company can now run a Tmall store, Tmall sales operation from their office in the United States. And it means China is now the easiest market in the world to enter for foreign consumer products.
So what made you leave politics and a career in PR politics and then join business world and founded this e-commerce company?
Well, I had a set of skills from government that I thought in some respects were very transferable because a lot of the issues on customs clearance, regulatory approval, and compliance really come from a government policy background, and it's important for the foreign exporter, the U.S. company or wherever, to be able to understand Chinese regulations and adhere to them. So that's not a bad background. But in truth, what happened was it's the end of the administration I was serving. The government I was with in Washington, the Bush administration, left office, and the appointees that came with President Bush left with him. So my skills are that I understand commerce and marketing in China, and I have a finance background in China, and what can I do to be helpful? And I think e-commerce was a great opportunity.
Who are your main clients? Are they smaller brands in a niche area, or are they big
mid-size?
brands?
Mid-size. We'd say companies that have a strong product slate but not strong distribution. We can offer the distribution in China. So these would typically be retail-oriented, consumer-oriented brands that have between maybe $100 million and $1 billion in sales. We have companies over that number, more mid-sized, larger companies, but it typically be around $1 billion to $100 million.
From your own experience, what do you think foreign companies need help from to set up e-commerce companies in China?
Sure. The challenge is that there's a series of mechanical tasks that, unless you have local familiarity, local competency, it's all new to you. So, for example, as I mentioned, customs clearance, local registration, even renting a warehouse locally. If your company can only sell maybe $1 million or $2 million online in China, it's very difficult to put somebody into Shanghai to interview warehouse operators, to rent space, to hire a warehouse operator and so forth. Web design might be the same activity. Express company, last mile delivery. So there's a series of reasonably small mechanical steps that can be just burdensome if the company's based in the United States and they simply can't afford the management bandwidth to set all of that up. So we've set it up.
From your experience, what are the mistakes that you've made in the early stage setting up business here? Or what are the challenges?
Well, I think there are a lot of challenges. In a way, it's sort of bad news, good news, meaning the fact that it took us 6 months or so to register and maybe closer to 12 months to put together, we think, a pretty good team, is just a reminder that it's never easy, right? And if you're coming in from overseas and you have to do all of this, it can be quite a challenge. I don't know if we made any one killer mistake or really went dramatically the wrong way. One change we made, though, to illustrate that point, Kitty, is we initially started marketing in the United States. We found it more fruitful to market to U.S. companies already in China, meaning the company's already committed to China, they're already selling in China, but they don't have an e-commerce presence yet in China because e-commerce is a separate set of skills of fulfillment and CRM activity and digital marketing, and they just haven't done it yet. So we can do all of that for them. So one change we made over the last year was shift in emphasis from marketing directly to companies in the U.S. to marketing to the China manager of the U.S. company.
Are Alibaba's Taobao and Tmall the only major platforms that foreign e-commerce companies should know or consider about operating in China?
Well, every company is a bit different, so I'm not sure if there's a one-size-fits-all, but I'd say in general the answer to that question is going to be yes, because those platforms together account for well over 50% of the e-commerce market. So that's not a bad place to be. And it's no surprise that Levi's store in China is on Tmall, that Nike store is on Tmall, that Sony's on Tmall, that Disney, that Apple and so forth, that the great global consumer brands go to Tmall. That is the premier site. And that's where our store is as well. So it's not a bad place to start. So I'd say in general the answer is going to be that's your solution.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of the lower tier online shoppers in the country? Who are these people?
Well, look, there's a range. The number of internet users in China is hundreds of millions of people. And even though it's going to skew toward younger people and better educated people, within that mix, there's going to be less affluent folks. I think you'd say our market segment, since we handle foreign brands, it tends to be in the mass premium space, not very low end or not everyday use. But I think you do have, to your question, Katie, I think you do have, especially in second tier cities, people whose preferred shopping channel, even for everyday items, toothpaste and so forth, is online, and those would be more mass products. That's not so much the space we're in, which tends to be a little more boutique or premium or niche oriented. For example, we sell Washington State and California State wines. Now these probably most of them sell between $20 US and $50 US. Not a luxury product, but that would be sort of mass premium.
Is China's group buying phenomenon fading, or do you still advise clients about how sort of team buying?
No, I think group buying is still in early days. I think it's growing. I would say this, group buying is a useful tool, but to my mind it's an augmentation of your strategy. Don't build your entire marketing strategy around group buying. You need to come up with a product slate and a marketing plan and a strategy that will sustain your company year-round. So you're always growing, you're always serving the customer, you're always introducing new products. In that mix, group buying can be a useful step to broaden your appeal. But I wouldn't start with group buying. I would start by saying, what are our core products that work in China, and how do we contact the Chinese consumers, and how do we present the value of our product to these consumers? Then I can talk about special deals, special promotions, group buying, and so forth.
What would be some of your advice that you would give for foreign companies trying to operate in China's e-commerce sector?
I would say the single biggest mistake, or the most frequently encountered mistake, that foreign companies make in China is the mistake of nothing. They do nothing different. They just say, oh, we have a great product, people like us, let's just transplant that to China. By the way, that might be largely true. That's not a bad assumption to start with, but it misses the fact that there probably have to be some adjustments made in product slate, in product features, maybe in pricing, maybe in distribution model, and to have market awareness and understand and follow and test the market and get feedback mechanism, I think is a mistake, because no two markets are 100% identical, right? And there's going to be all sorts of differences in this market that will help the company perform better. If it can understand what the consumer wants and follow the consumer, it's going to get a better outcome.
Thank you, Frank, for being on Thoughtful China.
Thanks, Kitty.